She was abandoned on a date until this billionaire revealed he'll regret losing her forever. Claire sat alone at a small cafe in Manhattan, the dim lighting doing nothing to soften the edges of her disappointment. The sting of being stood up coursed through her, as each minute faded into an overwhelming reminder that Logan, the man she believed was perfect, had chosen not to show. With a bitter sip of her lukewarm coffee, Claire felt the weight of expectation settle heavily in her chest, not just for the date but for her life as an artist in this chaotic city. Could this really be the direction her dreams were leading her? Each missed encounter, every brushstroke that felt aimless, compounded her doubts. Determined to shake off the gloom, Claire returned to her studio, a sun-drenched but cluttered corner of her one-bedroom apartment. Laying out her canvases, she hesitated, her mind racing. Should she channel her hurt into art or succumb to worry about future prospects? The internal debate intensified her anxiety. The possibility of remaining a barista artist, forever struggling to be taken seriously, gnawed at her. She poured paint onto the canvas, vivid blues intermingling with erratic splashes of red. Each stroke became a reflection of the chaos that filled her heart, the artist confronting her dreams and the swirling realities of rejection. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As days faded into weeks, she began to showcase her work at a cozy gallery in Brooklyn. The night she set up her exhibition was electric, each piece a testament to her struggles and evolution. Yet, beneath the excitement simmered her anxiety. Standing before a piece inspired by her scientific talent, something she had long pushed aside, she couldn't shake the feeling of being unworthy. Art had been her solace, but could she truly stand within its realm, especially if it meant putting heart on a platter for Logan, the very same man she thought could understand her world? In reality, Logan was a titan in New York's tech scene, his shadow looming ever larger as he wrestled with familial obligations. He watched Claire's passion transform canvases into living narratives, each painting holding remnants of forgotten histories and the allure of science. Regret clawed at him as he noted her raw talent, a stark contrast to his sterile corporate life filled with obligations. But could he dare to invest in this vibrant and chaotic world she inhabited, knowing that weaving their paths would only highlight the distance between their two societies? With each painted moment, Claire had begun to lose herself in that tension, the fracture between ambition and heart widening. Just as Logan reached out with an offer to sponsor her gallery, a shiver of skepticism enveloped her. Could she trust a man who had once deemed her unworthy of his time? Would she trade her authenticity for the charm of his world, or might she lose more than she gain? Standing alone in the gallery filled with her art, she felt the weight of those competing demands press against her chest. With the exhibition looming, she stood before the final canvas, infused with her grandfather's stories and her hidden scientific talent, knowing she faced the ultimate choice: fight for her integrity or risk everything for the allure of an uncertain love. The emotional crux loomed over her, and a single question hung spiritedly in the air: would clinging to her truth propel her toward the future, or would she be left fractured, lost to a man bound by obligation? Claire's hands trembled as she stepped back from her latest canvas, the colors swirling into a cacophony of emotion. She took a deep breath, trying to quiet the chaos inside her. Broken brushstrokes mirrored the frayed edges of her heart, each vibrant hue telling a tale of pain and longing, yet encapsulating the beauty of her struggle. The exhibition was just days away, but the shadows of doubt loomed larger than any masterpiece she could create. Glancing at herself in the nearby mirror, Claire noted the way her reflection bore the weight of uncertainty and exhaustion. Her dreams felt like well-fitted shoes that suddenly pinched at the seams. All the late-night hours spent painting, all the fear of judgment from Logan and the art community, coalesced into a single sentiment: what if she failed? It's now or never, she whispered to herself, reinforcing a mantra she hoped could anchor her wavering resolve. If art had always been her refuge, then perhaps it was time to reclaim it, not just as an escape but as a declaration of self. But where did that leave Logan? Did she dare to share this part of herself again after their last encounter? Pushing thoughts of him aside, Claire focused on the artwork before her, a vibrant piece representing a dance between science and emotion. It had emerged from late-night contemplation, where ideas of innovation clashed with the heart's raw experience. This artwork could become a pivotal piece in her exhibition, one that revealed not just her talents but a deeper connection to her roots. She resolved that it would speak for her when she struggled to find the right words. Days rolled by, and the gallery transformed from a blank space to a vibrant representation of who she was. Friends and fellow artists helped with the logistics, the community buzzing with excitement at Claire's emerging presence. Yet amid the accolades, her anxiety persisted like a shadow. Would it all feel genuine if she had to accept sponsorship from Logan? Was art not more powerful when it came from a place of struggle, devoid of superficial influences? Exhibition day finally dawned with a shroud of overwhelming anticipation. Claire dressed deliberately, considering her choices with the precision she usually reserved for her paintings. Each accessory was a brushstroke, each piece of clothing a color she intended to wear with intention. As she looked in the mirror one last time, she saw a woman fierce in her vulnerability and resolve. The gallery was filled with laughter and conversation, attendees buzzing with anticipation before the unveiling of her work. Yet as the minutes ticked by, Claire caught sight of Logan approaching. The air thickened between them, an unspoken tension hanging heavily amidst the laughter of her friends. He was dressed sharply, a marked contrast to the vibrant chaos of the gallery, and for a moment, Claire lost her footing as memories of their last encounter flooded back. "Claire," Logan began, his voice deep and earnest. "I've been thinking about our conversation and I realize I may have underestimated your ambitions. Your work here speaks volumes." His words fell between them, neither one searching for the truth they both seemed to dread. Claire felt a rush of indignation. Was this an apology, or merely a recognition of her talent out of self-interest? Struggling to maintain composure, she steeled herself against the allure of acceptance from the man who had once shattered her confidence. As the night unfolded, the moment arrived for Claire to unveil the piece de resistance, the painting that personified her journey. The crowd hushed, eyes fixated on her as she faced the canvas, her heart racing in tandem with the anticipation surrounding her. In that moment of vulnerability, Claire embraced her truth, the glimmer of determination shining within her. Perhaps this was the culmination of all she had fought for, the validation of her story and the embrace of her artistry, independent of the influences that tangled her path. But as her voice broke the silence, delivering a heartfelt reflection on the piece, Claire caught Logan's eyes, seeing something unmistakable flicker within them. Was it admiration? Regret? The emotion sparked a dangerous contemplation within her. Would she allow his presence, once a source of hurt, to color her every decision from now on? The weight of the moment pressed down on her chest as she spoke. The answer to that question loomed just beyond her grasp, challenging her to either extend a hand or keep it firmly at her side. And in that heated moment of decision, she realized one thing: the choice wouldn't merely define her art, but could reshape the very trajectory of her life. Would she step into the light of self-acceptance or retreat into the shadows of doubt? As she released her breath, the exhibition remained an echoing testament of her journey. The unsteady heartbeat of self-discovery thrummed within her, reaching for clarity amid the chaos. The crossroads had finally arrived, and she had to choose. Would this pivotal moment set her free, or bind her to the very chains she was desperate to break? The air shimmered with the heat of expectation, but Claire felt cold, as if the uncertainty of the moment wrapped around her like a shroud. Her voice wavered as she shared the story behind the painting, the colors on the canvas swirling into a visual narrative that felt more real than the world surrounding her. Each stroke was a proclamation of who she truly was: flawed, messy, yet vibrant. But as she spoke, part of her mind screamed that this vulnerability was a risky card to play in the presence of Logan. Logan's gaze pierced through the crowd, his expression unreadable as waves of nostalgia and regret pulsed in her periphery. Did he recognize his own part in her story, the shadows he had cast across her dreams? The thought of presenting herself the truest version of Claire while standing before the man who had once belittled her ambitions left a sick feeling in her stomach. Do you see the science? Claire's voice rose slightly, gripping onto the collective attention. It's there in the brushstrokes, the chaos of creation and the clarity it could bring if one dares to dive deep enough. She paused then, hoping to catch a reaction. Logan's brow furrowed slightly, an unspoken challenge wafting between them. A weak smile played on her lips as she finished her speech, but beneath it lay a torrent of inner turmoil. Would her honesty bring clarity or subject her to scrutiny? The crowd applauded, and Claire felt momentarily buoyed, but a deeper current of doubt still churned beneath her skin. She had fought too hard to reclaim this moment, to let Logan overshadow her victory. In the hours that passed, her anxiety morphed into something sharper: introspection. A few lingering guests had yet to depart, and as they mingled, whispers of admiration floated around the gallery. But Claire found herself retreating to a quiet corner, searching for clarity within her chaos. Logan, she heard herself say unexpectedly when he wandered close, unable to mask the tremor in her voice. Are you here to validate my work or judge my life choices? The words slipped out, infused with the nervous ripple of confrontation. He appeared taken aback, and it gave Claire a flicker of satisfaction, a moment where understanding tipped the scales in her favor. I think I just want to understand, he replied carefully, his admission punctuated by a soft vulnerability she hadn't expected. Teetering between vulnerability and defensiveness, Claire confronted her own desires and fears. Understanding doesn't benefit judgment. You had your chance to see me, truly see me, and you chose to look away. Each word felt like a brushstroke of its own, bold and unapologetic. Silently, she rattled through their past, how every interaction had felt like a battle against herself, every laugh and every critique echoing long after they departed. Claire's expression hardened as her heart raced. This isn't about you anymore. No, it's about you, Claire, he countered, his voice laced with earnestness. I realized too late that I didn't appreciate your perspective. This work, your art, deserves respect, and I want to learn from it. From you. It was almost laughable, the quest for respect from the very one who had bruised her spirit the most. Yet beneath that rush of indignation simmered a mix of uncertainty and intrigue. Did she genuinely feel safe opening these doors again, only to allow him back into her life in a new capacity? She cogitated silently, weighing the depth of that paradox as serendipity spun around them, an unmistakable magnetism. But as she considered where this exchange could lead, the menacing thought punctured her ecstatic bubble: what if this moment, however precious, faltered like glass between them? Could she risk her heart again? In her silence, Claire felt like she stood on the precipice of transformation, one foot on solid ground, the other hovering precariously over the unknown. The clock in the gallery ticked methodically, but all Claire could see were shades of her own trepidation. Either way, I am moving forward, she finally declared, willing herself to remain steady. Perhaps this crucible of confrontation had finally become the forge to redefine her art, her existence, and even her connection to Logan. What lies ahead is murky, she confessed, and I refuse to let anyone pull me back into darkness. The determination shone through the cracks of her uncertainty as she stood tall, a new kind of strength weaving through her resolve. Logan's eyes bore an acknowledgement she hadn't expected: respect, even. But abruptly, the air shifted. A previous linger of tension ignited anew as Claire realized her next move could alter everything. At this crossroads, Claire's heart thudded with urgency. Was she willing to fully embrace the vulnerability necessary for her next phase of growth? This moment would require clarity not only in her relationship with art but also with the man she had cautiously resurrected. Would she reclaim her power, or would the ghosts of their shared past tether her to old wounds? The choice loomed large above her like an ambient shadow, pulling her toward the unknown even as she grounded herself in the present. The faint echoes of laughter and chatter faded, replaced with only the sound of her heart urging her to decide. What resolution would she embrace, and who would she become in the wake of this pivotal confrontation? Claire's breath quickened as the weight of her words sank deep into her consciousness. She had reached a crossroad, a moment fraught with potential and peril. Logan's eyes, usually so vague and detached, now glinted with something more profound, a flicker of recognition and maybe even remorse. Despite the turmoil that ran beneath the surface, there was something oddly refreshing about standing her ground. But that inner strength, that boldness she had conjured up to face Logan and the lingering shadows of her past, was just the beginning. The aftermath of her confrontation was not a tranquil sea but a raging storm. She needed to focus on her art and herself, to ensure that her voice, her essence, wasn't just another victim of external judgment. With every glance at her painting, Claire felt a surge of energy. That canvas was alive with her struggles, her triumphs, and each brushstroke narrated a story she would no longer apologize for. It was her armor, a testament to her evolution, and she was done letting anyone, including Logan, dictate its meaning or her future with it. Everything I've created, every color, every mistake, it's my truth, she reminded herself. She felt the heat of the crowd surrounding her, but now it didn't suffocate her, it fueled her. They had come to see her work, not Logan's perception of who she should be or what she should create, yet, even as she savored this realization, Claire couldn't shake the questions swirling in her mind. Did she truly believe Logan's sudden interest had merit? Was it genuine curiosity or perhaps just a fragile attempt to redeem himself in her eyes? As her thoughts spiraled, she realized that dwelling on his intentions would lead her into a familiar quagmire of doubt. She needed to detach from their shared past. With resolve, Claire stepped away from the corner, leaving the remnants of their conversation behind like a discarded canvas. She was no longer a spectator in her life, it was time to engage fully with every aspect of who she was becoming. The gallery buzzed with appreciative chatter, and the tide of people swept her along, eager to explore her work further. Each step felt like a reaffirmation of her commitment to her art and herself. She began interacting with the lingering guests, confidently discussing techniques and inspiration. Their fascination stirred something dormant inside of her, a yearning to connect on the strength of her voice rather than the crippling fears of judgment. The more she spoke, the more invigorated she felt. This was her realm, her creation. It was within these walls that she formed connections, ignited conversations, and perhaps even sparked new opportunities. Claire could feel her self-doubt begin to dissipate with each interaction, but then, through the crowd, Logan approached her again. His presence cast a familiar shadow that stretched across her burgeoning sense of empowerment. Anxiety quivered beneath her skin, but she kept her posture steady, determined not to falter. "Claire," he said tentatively, a thread of hesitation weaving through his voice. "Can we talk?" The significance of this exchange loomed larger than anything she felt in that moment. In his gaze was neither the scorn of the past nor the arrogance she had once recognized. It was an invitation to discuss their shared history, a chance perhaps for clarity. And yet, the echo of her earlier confrontation replayed in her head like a mantra. She wouldn't let herself shrink beneath the weight of his presence again. In that brief moment, time stilled. Claire faced a decision. That familiar tension was back, an unresolved thread pulling at the seams of her newfound confidence. "Talking doesn't mean I'm willing to relive old wounds," she replied, the firmness in her tone surprising even her. "What do you hope to achieve?" Logan's expression shifted into one of earnestness, a mixture of resolve and regret culminating in an unexpected vulnerability. "I want to hear you. I'm not here to judge or diminish you, I want to understand how my actions affected you." Her heart raced. This moment teetered on the edge of something significant, yet she couldn't dismiss the echoes of her past. Did she dare to explore this potential reconciliation, or would it lead to more hurt? As she contemplated his words, the world around her faded again. Claire understood that while Logan sought clarity, the real journey was hers to navigate. She would need to unearth what she wanted, what she was willing to do with this fleeting opportunity for reconciliation. Was she ready to explore this conversation, or would she fortify the walls she had built around her heart? The uncertainty hung thick around her. It was a delicate balance between rediscovery and closure, and the choice loomed like an enticing challenge she could not ignore. Could she shape this moment into a new chapter of awakening? The question lingered as she weighed her next move, aware that whatever path she chose would define not only her future with Logan but her evolving identity as an artist and a woman. Could she accept or reject the invitation, knowing full well the implications it could carry? The gallery pulsed with life, and Claire stood on the brink of her next transformation, ready to take a step forward, but what kind of step would it be? Claire's heart raced as the atmosphere crackled with unuttered words. Logan's eyes beckoned her, requesting entry into an emotional territory she had guarded fiercely. It was tempting to engage, to delve into the malleable space between hurt and healing, but the weight of history felt daunting. She took a breath, steadfast in her resolve, her identity anchored in her art rather than this complicated dynamic. Understanding can heal, but it can also reopen wounds, she said, striving to keep her voice steady. Each syllable felt like a brushstroke on a blank canvas, layering her fear with an undeniable clarity. What if talking only drags us back? What if it's a mistake? Logan leaned closer, his body language shifting, a plea for connection evident in his posture. Maybe, he acknowledged, but maybe it's a necessary step towards something new. I can't promise this one to be painful, but I need to hear your truth. Perhaps it's time we both confronted our past. Claire found herself weighing his sincerity against her instinct to protect herself. Could there be redemption for both of them? The thought sent a ripple of uncertainty through her, igniting a hunger for resolution yet stirring apprehension of potential disappointment. Your truth, or mine? She questioned, uncertainty flashing in her eyes. Because the two often diverge. Both count. Yours matters more, Logan replied, revealing an earnestness she hadn't seen in him before. The promise of transparency hung in the air, but Claire's internal dialogue surged. She worked hard to carve out her artistic identity, to emerge from the shadows of past interactions that had clouded her sense of self. Would this conversation forge a path, or would it shackle her in the chains of vulnerability once more? With a deliberate inhale, she chose to step into the dialogue. After all, healing often required navigating uncomfortable terrain. Fine, she said, her voice firm. But understand this, my art, my voice, it's not a negotiation. If we're going to talk, I need to know that you're here for the right reasons. Logan nodded, an awareness blossoming in the depths of his eyes. I respect that. I wish I could take back the things I did. I never meant to stifle your voice. It was never yours, I doubted, it was my own. His admission landed heavy on Claire's heart. Here was a facet of Logan that intrigued her, one that hinted at layers she'd never thought to explore, and unraveling that, for the first time, felt like an invitation to a different future. Yet, she couldn't ignore the alarms ringing in her mind. Could she honestly trust him again? Taking stock of her surroundings, Claire forced herself to remain centered. The gallery hummed with activity, vibrant colors danced on the walls, embodying the very essence of her identity, a stark contrast to the murky waters she and Logan had navigated in the past. Perhaps she could use this moment to affirm her growth, to redefine what it meant to seek connection without losing herself. Let us talk, but let us do it honestly. No more masks, she insisted, the resolve creeping into her voice like a rush of pigment on the canvas. As they moved to a quieter corner, an invisible line divided them, a potent reminder of their tumultuous past and the promise of future liberation. Claire felt the tension morph into curiosity, the potential of their conversation swirling with the intensely personal stakes that framed her journey forward, but before she could say anything more, a flicker of doubt crept in. If she opened this door, would Logan truly understand the magnitude of what he had done? What if he slipped back into old patterns the moment the conversation became uncomfortable? The stakes felt higher than ever. Claire squared her shoulders, bracing herself for whatever revelations lay ahead. She was ready to lay her truth bare, but at what price? This moment held the potential for deeper self-discovery or for further entanglement in a past that had once threatened to consume her. Determined not to veer off course, Claire thought, perhaps this wasn't just about Logan, this was about claiming her narrative, no matter the direction it took. Every moment spent unraveling the complexity between them could either be a tool for clarity or a catalyst for despair. The whisper of new possibilities beckoned. Claire turned to Logan, poised to unveil the artist and the woman inside her. "Let us begin," she said, her heart pounding with both trepidation and excitement. The moment hung palpably, charged with the promise of transformation, and as she prepared to speak, an undeniable realization washed over her. This was not merely an intersection of past and present, it was the beginning of her recalibration into a future that remained unwritten. Would she embrace the vulnerability required for this honesty, and what would it reveal about herself in the process? Only time would tell as Claire drew a courageous breath and stepped deeper into the conversation that awaited her. Would she emerge stronger, or would this exploration fracture the boundaries she had fought so hard to create? Claire took a moment, adjusting to the weight of those pivotal words. As she felt Logan's gaze on her, she realized that this wasn't merely a narrative about him or their past, this was a chance to reclaim her story, to articulate who she had become without his shadow. Steeling herself, she took a step forward, both physically and metaphorically. "I want to start by sharing how I've changed," she began, her voice gathering strength. "Throughout our time apart, I discovered more about what it means to be vulnerable, not just with my art but with myself. I used to think vulnerability was weakness, a chink in my armor. But I've realized it's actually a source of strength." The words flowed out with a fervor she hadn't anticipated, tracing the edges of her transformation. Logan listened intently, his eyes betraying a cocktail of emotions: regret, admiration, and perhaps a hint of hope. He opened his mouth, but she raised her hand, an impulsive decision that surprised even her. "Let me finish. You need to understand. I can't keep deferring my voice to you or anyone else. My art is the embodiment of me. It was never just pixels, paint, or sound for me. It was my way of communicating who I am to the world." And when you— Claire hesitated, the raw memory threatening to derail her momentum. "When you undermined my confidence, you didn't just hurt me, you blurred the lines of what I thought I could achieve." Logan shifted, wrestling with the weight of his past actions. "I see that now. I really had no idea of the impact I had. It was selfish, and I stole your voice, Claire." His admission, though painful, felt like a bridge, the willingness to confront his mistakes illuminating some corners of darkness in their shared history. "And the thing is," Claire continued, "for a long time, I let that define me. I let it paralyze my work, my creativity, and my self-worth. But no more. I've taken control of my narrative." As she spoke, she thought of her recent exhibition, the vivid colors and raw emotions that had poured onto each canvas. It had been a cathartic process, one that allowed her to embrace the full spectrum of her journey, triumphs mixed with pain. Each piece had transformed her scars into symbols of resilience, embracing the importance of self-acceptance. "Art became my refuge," she said. "But this art, it started speaking truths to me. It whispered that I could be more than a past filled with regret. I've learned to express anger, sorrow, and joy. And sometimes, the most painful truths can lead us to unexpected places." She met Logan's gaze, emboldened by clarity. "What do you mean by unexpected places?" he asked, genuine curiosity in his tone, but with an underlying caution that hinted at his fear of the unknown. "I mean, I am beginning to know what I truly want for myself, independent of what I've allowed others to dictate," Claire replied. "I'm seeking collaborations, pursuing projects that amplify my voice rather than dilute it. And that also includes making choices about the people I surround myself with. I want to go back to a place of silence." As the conversation deepened, Claire felt the stirrings of determination lift her spirit, and with it, the realization that this was not just about her past or Logan's admission of guilt, it was about forging a future she had only just begun to envision. Logan's expression shifted, uncertainty punctuating his features. "And what if I want a place in that future?" Claire paused, her heartbeat quickening, an unexpected invitation that alarmed her. The notion of trust lingered in the air like a canvas waiting to be painted. Did she dare consider opening that door again? Could she embrace the possibility of reconciliation without losing what she had so painstakingly redefined for herself? This tension wrapped around her thoughts, a knot of emotions and decisions waiting to be unraveled. With renewed vigor, Claire stood firm. That remains to be seen. I'm not the same person I was, I'm forging a path that doesn't include the complacency of previous attachments. Logan nodded slowly, his understanding solidifying the fragility of the moment. But within Claire's narrative, a flicker of trepidation sparked with her next thought. Would she be able to navigate this new dynamic gracefully? The stakes felt palpable, with possibilities either leading her to empowerment or potential heartbreak. As their conversation continued, she held on to the hope that perhaps this dialogue could be a step towards something meaningful, if not for both of them, then for her alone. As they spoke, a sudden realization struck her. The true test of her journey was not just what she reconstructed with Logan, but the unwavering commitment to honor her own truth. And as they wrapped up their exchange, Claire saw a path illuminated, yet shadowed by questions left unasked. What if this process unveiled truths she wasn't ready to face? What if it led to an entirely different kind of confrontation? With a final glance into Logan's searching eyes, Claire gathered her thoughts and confronted what loomed ahead with both apprehension and hope. It was time to explore the depths of her choices further, to determine how they would shape her art, her life, and possibly even her relationship with Logan. The dialogue had ignited a new chapter, and the outcome was still unwritten. What lay ahead was the unknown, potentially freeing, perhaps terrifying. Could she continue balancing her newfound strength with a willingness to allow for connection? The thought lingered as they parted ways, leaving Claire on the cusp of an unfolding narrative, one that awaited a fearless confrontation between illusion and reality. As Claire walked away from Logan, a swirl of emotions clouded her thoughts. The cool evening breeze brushed against her, mingling with the warmth of her decision. Leaving their conversation felt liberating, yet it also unearthed an unsettling blend of doubt and hunger for clarity. Opportunities for self-expression lay ahead, but the question of whether to trust Logan again lingered like an echo in her mind. She returned to her studio, a sanctuary of colors and textures where her feelings morphed into tangible expressions. The walls, adorned with her latest creations, spoke volumes about her journey. Each stroke of the brush felt like a battle won. It was no longer just about creating art, it was about redefining herself as a force in a world that had tried to stifle her. Claire stared at a blank canvas, its emptiness both inviting and daunting. The boldness of the white surface challenged her to explore the depths of her newfound artistry. She had plans for a series that focused on the concept of resilience, mirroring her journey. This was more than a project, it was a declaration of determination, a personal manifesto unfolding inch by inch. But how could she truly delve into the themes of resilience while tethered to her past? Logan had briefly re-entered her life, igniting a curious flame of what-ifs and maybes. She needed to channel this chaos into something productive, something vital. In her uncertainty, there lay a stark challenge. Could she further dismantle her previous attachments and embrace the unknown? Picking up a palette knife, Claire began slicing vibrant colors across the canvas. Rich reds, piercing blues, and earthy greens collided, dancing and blending into one another, each hue signifying a different aspect of her journey. Her emotions poured out frustration, joy, and an underlying sense of empowerment. Every mark was an assertion of her voice, a reminder that she might have been silenced in the past, but now commanded the space around her. As she painted, her mind meandered through old memories, blending moments with Logan into this new tapestry. He had once been a catalyst for her silence, but had he also initiated her awakening? When the sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the studio window, Claire glanced at her watch. Time was slipping away, and she needed to regain focus on her upcoming exhibition. Doubts surfaced again, and she contemplated if she could share her new work with an audience. Would they see her evolution or merely reflect her past? Moments of vulnerability lingered. She questioned her bravery, her readiness to face the reception of others, and the accompanying criticism. With a deep breath, Claire stepped back from the canvas, surveying her work. The piece wasn't finished, but it was alive, an embodiment of her struggles and triumphs. This was a turning point. She had to commit to revealing herself, to embracing her art as a reflection of her truth. In that moment, Claire made a decision. She would accept the invitation to participate in a collaborative project at the gallery, despite her fear of opening herself up to more scrutiny. This was a leap, a chance to blend her voice with others, creating a chorus that would speak to her journey. Yet, what would this mean for her relationship with Logan? And how would she maintain her newfound clarity amidst the complexities of shared experiences? With the evening shadows lengthening, the storm of questions loomed larger, swirling with the energy of potential change. Perhaps each collaboration would serve as a crossroads. Each piece created would not only build her connections but also act as a testament to her capacity for trust without losing herself in the process. Claire put on her coat, determination settling within her. Tomorrow, she would reach out to the gallery about the collaboration. She would no longer remain silent, and her artistic expression would echo both her discontent and her growth. Amidst the looming uncertainty, she embraced the murmur of hope. As she stepped outside, the air tingled with anticipation. Claire knew she was on the verge of navigating a deeply transformative chapter, not just with her art but in her personal relationships. Yet, just as she caught her breath, her phone buzzed, a notification flashing a name that sent a jolt through her. Logan. Did he dare to reach out again? It was time for her next decision. Would she answer? And if she did, what would that mean for her journey ahead? Claire hesitated as she stared at her phone, the name flashing before her felt both familiar and unsettling. Logan. The past surged forward, wrapping around her thoughts like an insistent vine. Hadn't she just decided to step away, to forge ahead into new artistic territory devoid of his influence? Yet here she was, teetering on the edge of a decision that could ripple through her carefully crafted intentions. With a shaky breath, she silenced the phone, feeling the weight of her choice settle like a heavy stone in her chest. Deciding to engage with Logan could invite a host of complications, emotional disruptions that might threaten the delicate balance she was striving to maintain in her art and her life. But ignoring him also felt like an opportunity missed, an essential fragment of her narrative that she could choose to explore or dismiss. The studio felt claustrophobic as she paced, thoughts colliding within her mind. Claire needed clarity, not just about Logan, but about her own direction. Engaging with him could lead to deeper conversations that might inform her work, or it could draw her back into a labyrinth of past grievances. Remembering her decision to participate in the gallery project, Claire seized the moment as a stepping stone toward her growth. Redirecting the tension caused by Logan's sudden message, she resolved to dedicate her focus to her art. She worked into the night, creating an immersive backdrop for her series on resilience. The shifting colors on her canvas mirrored the complexity of her emotions: joy, anger, and the inescapable scars of the past, all forming a rich tapestry of life experiences she was determined to portray. Each brushstroke felt like a declaration of independence. She experimented with bold techniques, layering textures that conveyed depth and fragility. Her artistic process became a meditative ritual, a necessary release that allowed her to confront the noise swirling around her. In every chaotic swirl of paint, she discovered newfound strength. This was not merely an artistic expression, it was an excavation of self, an unveiling of the wounds that had shaped her into this moment. As the hours passed, her work took on a life of its own. Each piece encapsulated a chapter of her journey, a testament to the struggles she endured. The nagging doubts were still there, lurking in the back of her mind like uninvited guests, waiting for a moment of weakness. But she began to see beyond them. The flickers of clarity emerging amid the chaos felt invigorating. Finally, around dawn, she stepped back and admired her work. The series was coming along beautifully, more unified than she had hoped. Yet, the question of Logan loomed larger than the empty spaces in her studio. Could she confront him, if only to understand where their connection stood now? Would doing so reveal new insights that would feed her work, or would it wrench her back to the suffocating past she was trying to escape? With renewed purpose, she grabbed her phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. Before sending a message, she took a moment to breathe deeply. What did she want? Did she desire resolution, connection, or simply the closure she had previously sought? But as she considered her options, a new thought crystallized. Perhaps the journey with Logan wasn't merely about reconciling their past. It could be an opportunity for growth and exploration of trust and boundaries, not only with him but also within herself. The sun began to rise, spilling soft light across her studio, illuminating the vibrant energy of her creations. Claire finally hit send, reaching out to Logan, uncertain yet resolute. Like her brush on canvas, this was her medium of expression, an entry point into this next chapter of vulnerability and discovery. As she released her breath, she pondered the implications of her message. How would he respond? What truth lay buried in their unresolved past? This was not just a simple conversation, it held within it the potential for transformation. Claire stood at the precipice of a crossroads where her evolution as an artist collided with her evolution as a person, and as she waited, her heart raced with the thrilling uncertainty of what came next. Would this moment steer her towards reconciliation or deeper turmoil? The looming answer hung palpably in the air, building suspense. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over Claire's small studio, transforming her chaotic workspace into a sanctuary of sorts. She inhaled deeply, soaking in the aroma of paint and the distant sound of city life. Yet beneath the beauty, tension brewed. The text to Logan loomed over her, a weighty anticipation that overshadowed the glimmers of progress in her art. Claire paced again, her mind framing potential responses from Logan. Was he bracing for an emotional confrontation or simply indifferent to the years that had passed? Each possibility churned her insides with equal measures of hope and fear. But amidst the turmoil, a different realization formed: engaging with Logan wasn't solely about him. It was inherently tied to the evolution of her narrative as an artist. Returning to her canvas, she let the colors seep into her heart. Maybe her work needed this uncertainty. It called for unfiltered truth, a plunge into the chaos of her emotions just like her relationship with Logan had once been. Each stroke was cathartic, yet as vibrant hues danced together on the surface, Claire unearthed stark contrasts, the brilliance of independence against the shadows of entangled histories. She recalled the different versions of herself that had emerged during her relationship with Logan, the artist, the lover, the vulnerable woman who had feared losing herself in someone else. This time, she would protect her essence. Whatever happened next, it had to be grounded in her ability to navigate difficult conversations without losing her creative identity. An unexpected ping jarred her thoughts. Claire's heart raced as she redirected her focus to her phone, hesitantly picking it up. It was a reply from Logan. She opened the message with trembling hands. "Claire, it's been a while. I hope you've been well. I'd love to talk." The simplicity of his words was disarming. The essence of their past swallowed her whole, a series of memories, some bitter, some sweet, but all painting the intricacies of what they had once shared. Did she truly want to open that chapter? Was she ready to confront the emotions that might unveil the grief she hadn't fully processed? Shaping her reply felt like a delicate dance. Claire pondered over each word, attempting to encapsulate the complexity of her emotions. She decided to embrace vulnerability, yet anchored her response with the strength she had carved out through her recent artistic journey. "Logan, I'd like that. I believe there's a lot we need to unpack. When are you free to meet?" Sending the message felt liberating but also terrifying. She had opened the door to an unpredictable dialogue that could provoke both healing and conflict. What if their conversation revealed that it was more about closure for her? As her fingers left the keyboard, a spark of clarity ignited. She had always felt a need to be understood, yet now she craved understanding on her own terms. As an artist, she realized this conversation could be an exploration of her boundaries and her capacity to articulate her truths without compromise. Stepping back from her phone, Claire paused and turned to her canvas, her senses alive with possibility. The colors were more radiant than before, each layer representing her growing resolve and emerging confidence. This was her moment to reclaim her narrative, not just relative to Logan but to the world around her. The gallery project awaited her, a canvas of exposure that stretched far beyond paint, yet, would the upcoming conversation satisfy her longing for clarity, or would it further entangle her in the complexities of the past? The looming tension of the unknown pulled at her, a siren song whispering both hope and caution. As twilight spread across the room, shadows danced along the walls, mirroring her inner conflict. The path ahead remained shrouded, teetering on the edge of revelation, a testing ground for personal limits and artistic growth. Would she emerge renewed, equipped with deeper insights, or would this journey drag her back into the maze of her former self? The answer awaited. Their meeting, a moment fraught with both dread and anticipation, where Claire would ultimately define the contours of her own story amidst the echoes of their shared history. Days passed quickly, with Claire standing at the threshold of clarity and vulnerability. As she prepared for her meeting with Logan, the anticipation buzzed through her like the vibrant colors she so delicately manipulated on her canvas. This encounter would not only embody the unresolved complexities of their past but also encapsulate the burgeoning strength she had cultivated within herself. On the day of their meeting, Claire donned her favorite outfit, a carefully curated ensemble of colors that perfectly reflected her mood, bold yet grounded. As she walked toward the cafe, her heart raced, not out of fear but exhilaration. This was her chance to articulate her journey, to assert her voice in a space where it had once been muted. When Claire arrived, she spotted Logan sitting at a secluded table. He looked up, his expression a mix of apprehension and hope. A familiar tension lingered in the air as she approached him. There were no easy words exchanged, just the pulsating energy of their shared history hanging like an unsung melody. "Thank you for meeting me," Logan said, his voice steady yet laced with a hint of vulnerability. Claire took a seat, her pulse quickening. "I thought I needed to hear your truth." "Then let us start with that," Claire replied, her voice firm but warm. Every ounce of her encouraged her to let honesty flow freely, unfiltered by past wounds or lingering doubts. "I wanted to reach out because I've realized how much I underestimated you, your art," he began, apprehension dancing in his eyes. "What I've seen since that night at your exhibition, seeing you step into your power, has been nothing short of inspiring." Claire nodded, acknowledging his words while guarding her emotions. It felt bittersweet to share the spotlight with someone who had once dimmed her light. "That exhibition wasn't just a display of my work, it was a tribute to my journey. It symbolized my struggle to reclaim my voice." Logan's gaze softened as she continued. "Do you remember you once stood at the edge of my world, unwilling to see the artist beyond her canvas? That haunted me, Logan. It blurred the lines of my ambitions and made me question my worth." "It's hard to confront that," he admitted. "But I believe your experience can empower many. I've watched you shift, watched a light that had dimmed for so long ignite a fire within. You've turned that pain into something beautiful." Claire felt a flicker of warmth creeping into her heart, yet she steeled herself. "I appreciate your acknowledgement, but this isn't about me seeking validation from you. This is about me owning my narrative without your shadow lingering over it." Logan nodded, his expression shifting to resolve. "I want to understand what I can do to support that narrative, your growth, if you'd let me." The boldness of his request struck a chord within her. The vulnerability he expressed had changed. Maybe he wasn't just the haunting specter of her past, but also someone who recognized the potential for a new partnership, predicated on respect and balance. "Support is more than mere words, Logan," Claire replied, her voice steady with the authority she had reclaimed. "It's about recognizing boundaries. Can you promise that? Because I won't allow myself to slip back into the chaos you once led me to." Silence hung in the air, laden with the weight of their shared past. Logan leaned forward, earnestness radiating from him. "I want to create a bridge, not a wall. Whatever you need from me to empower that, I will strive to achieve it." Claire studied him closely. She was no longer the unsure artist wrapped in uncertainty. She had transformed her doubt into resilience, and now the choice felt monumental. Could she navigate this new partnership while remaining her authentic self? "Then let's explore this together on my terms," she asserted, her voice unwavering. I'm pursuing a collaborative project, an initiative that leverages shared experiences and celebrates resilience. But understand, it will not be easy, nor will there be room for misunderstandings or a return to old patterns. Logan met her gaze, a spark igniting as he absorbed her words. I understand. I want to approach this lightly. I want to work alongside you, if you'll have me. A wave of empowerment swept through Claire as she considered the potential keys to opening a new chapter. Let us start by sharing our visions for the project. I want to ensure we are aligned and that our collaboration holds significance to both our narratives. As the conversation continued, Claire felt her confidence blossom. Each word flowed with purpose and intention, echoing the cadence of a life redefined. Logan's admiration felt genuine as they discussed concepts, intertwining their artistic visions in a way that transcended past grievances. This was more than just a reconciliation, it was a partnership founded on authentic respect, where they could weave together their journeys without fear of losing themselves in the process. As Claire left the cafe, she felt emboldened by the day's dialogue. The decision she made to engage with Logan once more, on her own terms, was a testament to her growth. She had shown not only strength but clarity. She no longer needed to retreat or compromise her narrative for anyone. Returning to her studio, Claire picked up her brush, ready to channel her emotions, her struggles, and her triumphs into her artwork. With each stroke, she created a new narrative of resilience, where she was not merely an artist but a force, a woman who understood her worth. In that moment, Claire achieved a profound personal victory. She demonstrated that vulnerability was not a weakness, but rather a conduit for transformation. The past, once a shadow, was now a canvas upon which she could paint her future. Her journey had woven her identity with unparalleled threads of strength, love, and authenticity, and as the colors mingled vibrantly on her canvas, she reveled in the realization that she was the architect of her destiny. Claire stepped boldly into the tomorrow she envisioned, not constrained by the ghosts of yesteryear, but empowered by the insights gained from her past. This was her moment, not a culmination but an exhilarating beginning. Now, don't wait even one more second to show your support. You need to subscribe to the channel immediately to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these stories coming. And I want to hear from you. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending below. Finally, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us keep this community thriving.